So good afternoon to all of you.
Good afternoon, thank you.
It's a great pleasure to be with you this afternoon. As you all know, I work for the Migrants and Refugees section of the Holy See. I bring you also warmest greetings from Cardinal Michael Czerny, who is our superior in charge of African matters. It's really a pleasure to be here and to respond to the invitation sent to us by CPLO, and we are very keen on this collaboration with the Catholic Parliamentary Liaison Offices in Africa. So I was asked to present very briefly the work of the section and the structure of the section. I think this might be interesting because the section is one of the Vatican departments that resulted from the reform of the Curia that has been implemented under Pope Francis. And so I'm not sure if everyone is already aware of the changes that were introduced in the departments that have more to say regarding the social dimension of the action of the Catholic Church. So before I start, just a brief note on myself. I'm a Mozambican born of Portuguese descent. I'm more familiar with Eastern and Southern Africa than with Central and Western Africa. I've lived for a good number of years in Mozambique, of course, and also I've lived in Kenya. At the section we are two at present in charge of Africa. By coincidence, my colleague is also a Lusophone, because he's from Angola, and it's Father Avelino, who also, I think on Monday, if I'm not mistaken, was with you in the opening session of this training. So the first slide I have here is precisely from the website of the dicastery. This dicastery for promoting integral human development is one, as I said before, is one of the new departments at the Vatican that resulted from the Curia reform that is not yet finished. Is still an ongoing process. Several entities of the Vatican have been suppressed. A few others have been created, and this dicastery is one of them. So it's the result of putting together several departments that were there before. I think the most well-known of those departments was the Pontifical Council for Justice and Peace, which is no longer, it's no more there. It has become part of the dicastery. Then there was also the Pontifical Council Cor Unum, the Pontifical Council for the Pastoral Care of Migrants and Itinerant People. This is more or less what we do now at the section. And there was also the Pontifical Council for Healthcare Workers. So the new dicastery has several commissions inside: Commission for Charity, Commission for Ecology. This Commission for Ecology has been running. It has been running the season for creation that is currently underway, as you know, until October the 4th. Then there is a commission for healthcare workers. Also Caritas, the Caritas Internationalities, it falls also under the supervision of the prefect of the dicastery. And then there is the section. So how can I change now for the next slide, please?
Are you in your PowerPoint presentation? I'm not sure. There you go. Yeah. That's it.
So do you see now?
Yes.
My other slide?
We see the structure, the organogram.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good, perfect. So this section has a very particular structure. This section, as I said before, is under the dicastery, but at the same time has its own autonomy. It responds directly to the Holy Father. This was something that had never existed before in the Vatican structure until now. Imagine, I give you an example for you to understand. Imagine the government of South Africa. Imagine the president, Cyril Ramaphosa. He has his own Home Affairs minister. But the president decides that the migrants and refugees issues that fall under the Minister of Home Affairs, he will deal directly with those. And they are not any longer, for at least for a while, under the power, the authority of the Minister of Home Affairs. Why did Pope Francis do this? I think it's a small gesture to show to the world that for him, in the Pope's, in the Holy Father heart, the needs, the plight, of the migrants and refugees are the most important ones for him. He pays a very special attention. He gives a lot of care and attention to the issues of the migrants. So he asked that at least the expression it was used is ad tempus. For a certain time, he wants to take care he himself of the issues related to migrants and refugees. So that's why you have here our under-secretaries, Cardinal Michael Czerny and Father Fabio, directly under the supervision of Pope Francis. Then we have regional coordinators or coordination teams. For Africa, we have a coordination team, 2 people in charge of the issues related to Africa, and for Asia as well, 2 people working in a team responding to the needs of migrants and refugees in Asia. And then we have regional coordinators, one for Eastern Europe, and these are the countries of Central Asia that used to belong to the USSR. Then a regional coordinator, Pascal, she takes charge of the Middle East. She's a Lebanese and also at the same time of Oceania, just a small population of migrants and refugees there. Then one for North and Central America, one for South America, one for Eastern Europe. Then we have, of course, an administration team, a press and media office, and a research team. Our mission is then to support the church all over the world in our mission to accompany migrants, displaced, refugees, victims of human trafficking, and this in countries of origin, of transit, of arrival, and of return, if conditions are met for that. So we do not work ourselves directly with the populations of concern. our mission is to support, is to help in any way we can the church in our mission to do that, to work directly with those populations. Here in the picture you see, of course, other than Pope Francis, you see our two undersecretaries, and you see also the prefect from the dicastery, Cardinal Turkson, whom I had the great pleasure to meet many years ago when he was still back in Ghana as Archbishop of Cape Coast. So this is also, I tell you from my heart, it's a great privilege to work with this team. It's also a sign of unity of the church for the world. You see, I think it's the first time in history that a cardinal, in this case Cardinal Czerny, works in the Vatican under another cardinal. This has never happened before, and there's no problem with that. They get along very well. And this cardinal, our Cardinal Michael Czerny, his title is only undersecretary. No cardinal before had such a low rank title of undersecretary. They are always the prefect of a department or the president of a council. And this is also, I think, a big sign Pope Francis is giving to the world, that it doesn't matter the title so much. It matters the service you and me are called to offer to the church and to God's people. So you see in the photo, you see one of the meetings, one of the regular meetings. Our undersecretaries go at least once a month, but more often twice a month to meet the Pope and to get his orientations to the work of the section. Our vision is that migration should be a matter of choice. This idea is very difficult to sell in today's world, that migration is a matter of choice. We should all of us should have the freedom to migrate and also the freedom to stay in our own country if we wish to do so. So, I mean, to have in our own countries the necessary conditions to a good life, not to be forced to leave our countries if we do not want to do that. Societies are enriched by the diversity, not by unanimity. This is also it's becoming increasingly difficult to propose this vision. I mean this goal in today's world, but societies have always been enriched by diversity, not by any monocolor type of society. And we have also a communication strategy. I was mentioning this when we were chatting just before the start of the presentation. Our goal is to change also the negative narratives. Our media team, I think, is doing an incredibly wonderful work, proposing to the world the good narratives related to migrants and to refugees, not the ugly, not the unpleasant narratives. For that, the secular media is full of that. Our people of concern, as I was already mentioning, is migrants, it's refugees, IDPs, victims of human trafficking, and now increasingly we are also paying attention to climate migrants. And we foresee very easily that in the next 10 or 20 years, this will be a most relevant factor in mobility, in the mobility of human beings. I mean, those who are already and will be forced to migrate due to the climate crisis and to environmental degradation. Our strategy is always to work in dialogue and consultation with those who are our relevant Catholic partners. For instance, I give you now a very clear example of how this dialogue and collaboration works. The section has produced a few documents that intend to help the church in responding to particular categories of people in mobility. Every single of those documents is drafted and is published after a process of consultations. So it's not intended to be a top-down document produced at the Vatican and thrown to the church for the church to read and to implement, but it's the opposite. Our documents intend to be the result of consultation to those who in the field have a significant word to say related to the theme in question. No, so for instance, we do usually, when we are preparing a new document, first of all, we held consultations with partner organizations, with religious congregations, with researchers, with professionals working in the area. Before the pandemic, this was done in a meeting in Rome. We would call people from different parts of the world, from different organizations, and have a session to discuss the theme and to get their inputs. Then we would prepare a draft document. This draft document then is presented to another type of consultation with representatives from bishops' conferences, again from all over the world. And then, after hearing also from our shepherds, from our bishops, we do again an editing work, and then the document goes to the Holy Father, gets the Holy Father approval, and it becomes part of the teaching of the Church. We are now doing this precisely for our new document that most hopefully will be out next year. It will be the pastoral orientations on the climate crisis and forced displacement. So in all of this, we try, of course, to resist to the throwaway culture that the Holy Father has been calling our attention to once and again. These are very familiar expressions now for us Catholics, because our Holy Father uses these expressions many times: the throwaway culture, the globalization of indifference, and this applies to the world of human mobility in a very particular and unfortunate way. So in all our documents as well, we now are always repeating the strategy for the Church that Pope Francis he himself summarized for us some 3 or 4 years ago in one of his documents, which are now becoming a classical for the pastoral work with migrants and refugees: to welcome, to protect, to promote, and to integrate. These 4 verbs, they stand for the 4 pillars of a well-coordinated and effective action plan for the church in this area. So, I propose a small pause now. As any question until now, because now I will skip to a second part of my presentation, which is a very brief overview of our main documents. Any question, any comment until now? You are very welcome to do that at any time. Just to say hello so that I know that you are not yet sleeping.
No, we are paying attention. I don't see any questions at the moment from anybody. Oh, hang on, here's one from, no, Sister Jane, it's not a question. Sister Jane is applauding you. If anybody wants to put a question.
Thank you so much, sister.
If anybody wants to put a question, you just unmute yourself and ask your question. Otherwise, Mario, I think you can carry on.
Okay. So now I was asked to give a very brief overview of our main documents. This, I think, will not be too boring, because I will not enter into the details of the contents of the documents. I will just very briefly point out to you which main documents we have been publishing since the section was created by Pope Francis, and the section began operating in the 1st of January 2017. And until now, every single year, we dedicate to study a particular theme. And this particular theme we'll see in the following year the publication of a document related with the theme. So in 2017, the entire world, and also the Catholic Church, was in the process of preparing the global contacts for migrants, on migrants and on refugees. So the section immediately began its work at the time it was created, paying attention to this question. This was a process, of course, led by the UN after a document was signed in New York some years before, the New York Declaration, that intended to lead the world to the signing of compacts, of shared agreements on how to deal in a renewed way with the flux of migrants and the refugees in the contemporary world. So the section paid attention to this, and in 2018 we produced this first document, Towards the Global Compacts on Migrants and on Refugees. The document has two parts: the 20 pastoral action points. This is addressed to the Catholic Church, to the Catholic actors in the field of migrants and refugees. And the second part was the Church contribution to the draft of the Global Compacts. So it was the 20 action points for the Global Compacts. As I said, the first part, the 20 pastoral action points, you find there resources to respond to the needs of asylum seekers, of migrants and refugees. Resources that can inspire the action of a particular local community, of a parish, of a diocese, of a religious congregation, of a Catholic organization. And also they are intended to help individuals, so Christians, regular Catholics, in getting personally involved in practical and spiritual ways. Then the second part, the 20 action points for the Global Compacts, were drafted, as I said, as the Catholic Church's contribution for the Global Compacts. And I'm very proud to tell you that many of these 20 action points, they found an echo in the final text of the compacts that were endorsed by the vast majority of the countries in our world. You know most surely which countries did not sign to this global agreement. It's obvious. It was the United States, it was Brazil, it was China, it was those countries from Eastern Europe that have governments now that are quite contrary to the movement of peoples. Not to say that they have xenophobic tendencies. But anyway, the church gave a wonderful contribution that was much appreciated by the international community. And so a few of these points found a very concrete echo in the final tests. But the process is not over. These 20 action points can also be used by yourselves, by Catholic parliamentary liaison offices, in dialogue with governments, in dialogue with international organizations regarding the laws and policies which govern human mobility. So now I move to the second document we published. So this document was prepared in 2018 through the process of consultations I mentioned before, and it was published last year of 2019, the Pastoral Orientations on Human Trafficking. Its purpose is to provide a reading of human trafficking and an understanding that motivates and sustains a long-term struggle. What can be done to mitigate and eliminate human trafficking? How can this be better done? So, and the section provides there a series of considerations that may be useful to Catholic and non-Catholic organizations, schools, universities, civil society organizations, any group whatsoever that wishes to offer a response to this tragic phenomenon of our world. The document begins by a definition of human trafficking and then presents 10 sections. Each section analyzes the cruel facts and the challenges of one facet of this phenomenon. So I will only present to you for you to have an idea of the 10 sections. I will only read to you the titles. There's the first part, understanding human trafficking, the causes. Then we discuss the issues of commodification and exploitation that are very common in today's world. The demand aspect, I mean, there will be no human trafficking if there will not be demand for people that are trafficked. The second part, acknowledging human trafficking. There is a reluctance to acknowledge this reality of human trafficking. Then identifying and reporting human trafficking. Third part, the dynamics of human trafficking, an ugly and evil business. The business connection. So this is this and the sixth section, working conditions and supply chains. This has a lot to do with the goods we buy and sell in today's world. No, we are all trying to buy as cheapest as possible, and when a good is very, very cheap, it's because it has most probably the working conditions of the people who produced it are equivalent to those of the slavery times, many times. Then human trafficking and migrant smuggling, and finally responding to human trafficking, bolstering cooperation, provide support to survivors of human trafficking, and promoting reintegration. This is just for you to have an idea, and for those who work more directly with human trafficking, if they wish to do so, they can go and look for the document. It was designed for the planning and evaluation of concrete pastoral commitments, as well as for advocacy and dialogue. The ultimate goal is, of course, to dismantle and eradicate this most evil and sinful enterprise of deception, entrapment, domination, and exploitation. These are words of Pope Francis that we are quoting in the document. This immense task, which requires courage, patience, and perseverance, demands a joint and global effort on the part of the different actors that make up society. So I will run the second video. Stop me immediately if you can't hear the sound, please, because this has no subtitles. This video is in English.
Okay. Sound is good.
The trade in human beings is an open wound in our world.
Thousands of innocents are victims of exploitive labor, sexual abuse, and of organ trafficking.
We have become so accustomed to this as to consider it a normal thing.
But is the principal cause of trafficking really the traffickers?
We are part of the problem. It involves us.
And we must acknowledge this dire reality, raise awareness, break through the veil of indifference.
We Christians are called to overcome every kind of discrimination and to coordinate initiatives for combating the trafficking of persons.
The Church is committed to support victims of these crimes by accompanying them on a path of recovering their human dignity and of reintegration into society.
So I forgot that it was in English, but it had also subtitles. So anyway, this document was published at the time of this conference we had last year in Rome. These were the good times when people still could travel all over the world very easily. So this is also for you to have an idea of our collaborative processes. So many of the people that were involved in the drafting of the document were later on called to Rome for this international conference when the document was released. And also in this conference, people suggested very concrete proposals of implementing the document and gave priorities and offered clues that of which priorities could the section take in the area of human trafficking in the future. And the Pope was with us, for the final session of this international conference on human trafficking. So, very briefly now, the last document, the last main document we have published, this was published in 2020 in March, but in March or April, I can't remember exactly now, but international travels had already been banned, so there was no international event to publish the document, just a press conference at the Vatican. It's the pastoral orientations on internally displaced people. Again, as is the case of the previous documents I presented to you, it provides practical guidelines for local churches affected by forced displacement and identifies pastoral practice which can be carried out and renewed. So we all know that IDPs are persons that have been forced to flee, to leave their homes or places of residence, and particularly as a result of, or in order to avoid the effects of armed conflicts, situations of violence, violations of human rights, or natural or human-made disasters, but who have not crossed an international recognized state border. And so many times they do not fall under the mandate of the UN international organizations, of UNHCR or other organizations. Many times they are the most forgotten people in move of today's world because of that. The church wishes to accompany these vulnerable people. For you to have an idea, in 2019 only, there were around 33.4 million new displaced persons in the world. And this is not migrants, this is not refugees, this is not victims of human trafficking, only internally displaced people. Of this, of the total of new IDPs last year, of those displaced by conflicts, this is really figures that have to be called to our attention and to our pastoral responses. 43.7 of all the displaced by conflicts in the world were in sub-Saharan Africa last year, and 13.9% of those displaced by environmental disasters in the world took place in Africa. Now, the last video I wish to show you. This video is taken from the media campaign we are running presently. The media campaign preparing for the World Day of Migrants and Refugees, which will be celebrated next Sunday, September the 27th, as you well know. So our media team produced a series of videos regarding IDPs, and one of the videos is with this young man from Sierra Leone. So we will listen to this video, watch this video now. Sound okay?
Yes, good.
Quest'anno ho voluto dedicare la giornata mondiale del migrante e rifugiato alla pastorale degli sfollati interni. Ho scelto come titolo del mio messaggio "Come Gesù Cristo costretti a fuggire", collocando al centro della mia riflessione l'esperienza di Gesù bambino, sfollato e profugo assieme ai suoi genitori.
Professore che ci hanno salvato, non solo a me hanno salvato migliaia di bambini che venivano lì da soli, senza genitori.
Le paure e i pregiudizi, tanti pregiudizi, ci fanno mantenere le distanze dalle altri e spesso ci impediscono di farci prossimi a Gesù Cristo e di servirlo con amore.
Ho dovuto lasciare il mio villaggio per causa di guerra civile nel 96, avevo 6 anni, e mi sono venuti nel nostro villaggio in Amasadou verso alle 4 così. C'era a casa io, mia sorella e la mia mamma, perché mio padre avevamo un fattoria, lavorava là, mio fratello hanno dovuto prenderlo, farlo pure lui, si chiama Omar, soldato bambino, era tardi. Allora mia madre mi lascia in questo centro dove c'è queste suore, torna a prendere mia sorella, solo che quel giorno non torna. Le suore lì in centro mi parlavano, solo che non parlavano di mio letto, però io so che mi parlavano, adesso mi rendo conto che queste mi voleva dare una mano, però io avevo sempre paura, soprattutto erano bianche, io avevo paura, però comunque le suore sempre cercavano di aiutarti, di darti coraggio, di tranquillizzarti, di non avere paura. Questo posto che comunque arriva lì vieni dato una mano, vieni dato un amore, perché poi scappando da casa non c'hai un posto dove andare, ma quel posto lì c'è da mangiare, c'è un posto a letto, ci sono tanti altri ragazzi, lì non c'è niente altro che darti una mano. Queste suore che ci hanno salvato, non solo a me hanno salvato migliaia di bambini che venivano lì da soli, senza genitori.
So I'm just about to close my presentation. Just to mention to you that right now we are working in this new document, the Pastoral Orientation on the Climate Crisis and Forced Displacement. So hopefully next year it will be out, it will be published. We have done already the consultations with the Catholic organizations interests in the field, in this field of study, and also religious congregations. We are now in the phase of listening to the bishops' conferences. Usually, when there were travels allowed to Rome, we would invite a few bishops from all over the world to a consultation in Rome. So now we are doing the consultations online with the bishops, and for Africa, we will have 3 consultations, one in English, one in French, and one in Portuguese. So that way we will listen to more bishops than it was the case in previous documents. Another publication of ours that we started during the pandemic was this COVID-19 bulletin, which we are sending out weekly or bi-weekly to our partners all over the world. And it tries to stress the good practices of the church, the good practices of the Catholic Church all over the world, trying to respond to the needs of migrants and refugees and IDPs in this time of pandemic. Finally, the motto for the celebration next Sunday of the World Day of Migrants and Refugees, forced like Jesus Christ to flee. And our website, you can go to our website and you will find all our documents and resources to help you if appropriate in your work, and you will find in 5 languages: English, French, Portuguese, Italian, and Spanish. So thank you very much for the patience and the courage to go all the way through the presentation. And I'm happy to take questions now.
Please sign up for our newsletter at cplo.org.za.